The twist. In a little shanty town was on a night like this. Girls were sitting down around the town like this. Some were young and some were brown. I even found a miss who was black and brown and really did the twist. Watch her move her wrist and feel your belly twist. Feel the hunger thunder when her hips bones twist. Try to hold her, keep her under while the jukebox hiss. Twist the music out of hunger on a night like this. Welcome back. My name is Njeri Wangari, your host, and it's great to have you back. That was the poem Twist by Edward Brathwaite, and who adopted the name Kamau. And this is from the, I'm sure some of you might recognize this, and my guest Siteiya might you recognize this book. It shows someone's age, and for me, you can tell it's poetry course for KCSE. This is a book that we did yeah, that many years ago.
Oh,
That was 90 what? 95. 95 to 98. That's when I was in high school.
95, I was in
And
class too.
this is the book that made me fall in love with poetry. And reading this, I'm sure those who've interacted with this book, this is where you find David Cook, Robert Rubadiri, and all the great African poets and those who shaped my love and for poetry and for performance. And um, now, Edward passed on last year in February. He was a Barbadian poet and academic who was one of the major voices in Caribbean literary canon. And it was really good to read one of his poems. So today I am joined by Siteiya Warui.
Yes.
Online, she goes by the handle at Siteiya, and she's an award-winning film production designer, art director, creative designer, and props master. And I've just mentioned some of the things that she's currently doing, not the ones that she's done in the past, because there's been photography, journalism, and we'll talk about all those things. So, welcome to the show, Siteiya.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. It's been tough getting a hold of you.
No, it's not been so tough.
Well,
This colliding of times. Times
yes,
colliding, yes.
yes, but
yes.
that's
But I'm here now. It's new.
yes, and
Funny
it's
kitu.
great. We've made this happen finally,
Yes, yes.
despite all the odds, and I'm really glad to have you on the. I'm really glad to have you on the show. Now, before we start, I'd just like to mention that this podcast has been made possible by the support of Unique Kenya. Now, Siteiya,
Yes.
I'd like us to start. I know we've already done the intros, but yours is such a fascinating story because you tell me some of the things that you have done,
Mm,
and I've just read the list right now of what you're currently doing,
yes.
and I'm totally amazed.
Thank you.
How did you end up being let's start with which started first? Is it
Journalism started
you
first.
started with
Because that's what
journalism?
I studied in school.
Okay.
Like that's what I did in uni.
All right.
Ready to be a news anchor. Wow.
And-
Well, life comes at you
Uh-huh.
fast.
All
Yes,
right.
but I'm not doing that currently. So then I became so I did journalism and I actually became a writer and a photographer, an events photographer, and I used to work for a newspaper. Then I didn't do that for a while. When I stopped doing that and did my internship for the next bit of my study, I now did production. When I did production, I ended up in art department via a very good friend of mine called Dylan Lloyd from South Africa.
Let's talk about that because I know just before we got on set, we were talking about that because what you're telling me is that it happened purely by coincidence. And
Yeah,
please take us through
purely.
that because, sometimes in life, we end up in a place we never knew or thought, but then we're like, oh, this is where I was meant to be. But how you
Yes.
got there was a pure coincidence. So,
Pure
how did that?
coincidence because I was on the internship as a production coordinator, and he was working on a set for the Kenyan soap opera Mali. So at that point, I was at Allison Production, and he came and he kept asking me, "How do you wear these colors every day? Like, how do you wear purple and yellow? Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "I can see color in my head. I can see a yellow wall. We'll go with an orange wall. I can see." A green will go with a yellow. I can see the red. See the red and the yellow go.
Oh
So, and
yes.
I'm like, yeah. So I can see color in my head. He's like, you see
Mhm.
color? I'm like, yeah, I see color, and I can visualize color. Like I can see what a space will be before I finish with it. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I should get you in my department. And I'm like, no, I work for production. So, Abra. So he talked to the production. The production allowed me to join him in our department. And I can see the rest is history because he got me on the Mali set. And then I got to do Sugar too, which I actually ended up as also as a chaperone for Wizkid. And that's how me and Wizkid
Oh.
became boys for such a long time before now he's exploded and I cannot get a hold of him. But yeah, so I
Mhm.
ended up being the props master for Sugar too. I met Lupita, I met Wizkid, I met amazing people on that set. And then I learned how set was done. It was actually one of the hardest sets because it was baptism by fire. Being taken from something that you've not done and then being thrown deep into something
Mhm.
that you're supposed to learn.
Mhm.
But over the years, look at me, over 200 commercials later, over
How?
10 feature films,
Yeah.
and award winning.
Wow. Wow. And how did you? At what point? Because as you say, it was baptism by fire.
Mm.
What made you not give up?
I think the fact that everybody thought that I was not going to make it, especially the women who were on top who could have been holding my hand, and they kept telling me, Maki, just go back to fashion, go back to blogging, go back to photography. I think they just kept pushing me. Unajua ile yenye nitawaonesha, I'll prove a point that I can do this.
Yeah.
A woman can do this. And that just kept pushing me. And every set that I went to and somebody brought me down, it became a new motivation. Every time I would go and somebody would tell me, this is not what we expected. I'm like, what did you expect? I would ask questions after set. And I'm like,
Mhm.
if you didn't want it like this, how did you want it? So I kept
Yeah.
learning that maybe if I improve on this or I did
Mhm.
this, so you learn on the job. And every job has its challenge. Nothing is the same. If I say that and I've done over 300 commercials, nothing is the same.
Yeah. So there's no
Nothing.
set that you go and you're like, oh, this I could do with my eyes closed.
Mm-mm. Ah,
Yeah.
you think that your eyes will be closed, and then you're told, okay,
Mm.
let's look for a black nyungu. You go everywhere. All the markets, Kawangware, unaingia marikiti, you will not find it. Day of the shoot, 6 a.m., you're being told, okay, Siteiya, where is the nyungu? Nilitafuta kila mahali. You think especially the things that you ignore, the smallest things,
Yes.
those things come to mess you up because you will want to deal with it. Let me build the wall, let me put the carpet. Then you forget, listen,
Mhm.
there was a painting. You look for that painting. You look for that painting, you will not
And you
find it
cannot
anywhere.
find it.
So you don't
Wow.
assume anything. So everything has
Yeah.
its challenge.
Yeah.
But
And we'll come to that because I've been scrolling through your Instagram endlessly. Like I've just gone to the very first post that you did, and we'll talk about some of the great sets that you've worked on,
yes.
what the experience has been like, and you saying that every set has its challenges. But
Mhm.
let's go back to something that you talked about because it's something I keep hearing
Mhm.
that and it's such a bad reflection on us as women, and I don't know whether it happens to men, where you want the few women, because I'm guessing, and maybe you can tell me how many in the space that you're in, and when you operate, how many women are there versus the men that are operating in that space.
I think I actually know just three. I know Shiko, Chella, and like myself, and maybe one more. Yeah. So maybe we are five out of like 10 dudes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's of course it's less female and more
Yeah.
male. And especially when I joined, it was more. Now it's actually becoming more female, which I'm loving because we have that touch to things. Women have that touch to things that they finish off the men can't. But yeah, women are getting there,
Mm.
but of course it's a man's world.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so what has your experience been uh getting that support? Because just getting into that space as it is as a woman was challenging enough, because there are stereotypes that we associate with, because
Yes.
ni kazi ya mjengo niyo ya
Yeah.
fundi,
Ni
ni
fundi.
kukua fundi,
Dema
if
hizi jua
if we're
dema
not
hizi jua
using
saizi ya
fancy English
mbao.
language.
Dema hizi jua saizi ya mbao. So yeah, it's that. It's like you go to Gikomba and you're like, nipatie 8x4. They're like, unajua 8x4 inatoshanaje? You're like, excuse me? Yes, I do. Because nimepima ile space yenye nataka. But it's I think it's just that mentality, ile stereotype ya dema hizi jua mjengo. Dema hizi, you cannot know
Mm.
that this glass will fit in this frame. You will not know that until a man. If I
Mhm.
go shopping with my fundis, things come out faster than if I go shopping alone. And
Wow.
95% of the time, I have to send my fundi to buy things, and I tell them just put to till number. But I have to reconfirm everything that is bought because it's me. I designed the set. I know the size. I know what I need.
Yeah, but
So
you'll have a harder time, a
yes,
much harder
getting
time
them
getting those
myself.
items.
Yes,
Yeah.
getting them myself. It's just it's a man's world.
Wow.
Kasamaji.
That's really unfortunate. So let's go back to when you were starting out, and it's something that I had started sort of going to, and then we sort of shifted a bit.
Mm,
And I was talking about this. It's called the crab in a bucket mentality.
yes,
What
yes.
has your experience been with that kind of mentality, and what have been some of those challenges that you've had where you expected we are few, so let's hold
Mm,
each other's hands and get
and
to the
get
top,
to the
and
top.
really the
Yes.
reality was very different from that.
Yeah, it was amazing just walking into production because you see most of the grip guys are dudes, camera will be dudes, sound will be dudes, and then you're like, oh my god, a producer who's a chick, and you're like, yay, maybe we can make this work, and then she is the biggest bee of them all, and you're like, can we make this work? And she's like, no, you know, Siteiya, you're so expensive, you're not reasonable, instead of sitting me down and telling me, Siteiya, listen, let's meet halfway, talk to me about this, and I tell you, okay, I'll respond with this, and I'm like, if it's reasonable, then we can meet halfway. Or even if, because you're my mentors and you're people who I already met working in the industry, telling me, okay, this is not how it works, we work like this. But also I can tell you the system of working has not been good or favorable for women, and now because I'm here doing this department, can we make it favorable for women? Then it will not work. It's even being told on set, don't come with tight pants, you're distracting the grips department. Okay.
Wow.
I was given a lasso on one of the sets to wrap around my waist because I was wearing a tights and a t-shirt. And I was climbing up a ladder and I was told I need to wrap myself with a lasso so that I stop distracting men. Kwani they're the only people who can get distracted.
Wow.
So you do your work, even me I do my work. Why are you looking at me? So it's just been those ones.
Yeah,
And it's a
yeah.
woman who brought me the lasso. It's a woman who went to buy it. It's to the point of like women would even say, hii job ni ngumu sana. Tukita Siteiya, she will not manage. Let's
Wow.
call the guy. Let's call the guy
That's
who can come and do this job instead of Siteiya.
Yeah, that's
Then halfway through the job, something is not done correct. And they're like, oh, Siteiya, are you available? I'm like, no, I'm not. Chipangeni. See, you thought the man will do it better than me. So
Yeah.
it's been that. It's the women that have touched base with very few, very, very few were a stepping stone to my rising. And the ones who really brought me down, I just meet with them right now and they're like, oh, you're doing a good job. I'm like, thank you so much. If only you.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have won that award 5 years ago, not 10 years later.
Well,
If only you, and I've decided, I decided any woman who joins me in the industry I will be the kindest. I will give you the advice. I will hold your hand. It's been hard getting girls to train in my field because it's tough. But the men that I've trained, I always tell them, just do that one act of kindness. Just keep giving it on. Because the more we keep involving people, including
Yeah.
people, building,
And mentoring and
yeah,
paying it
that's
forward.
how we'll get to
Yeah.
Hollywood. Tutafikaje Hollywood if we're just always thinking we have to work for Mnet to make it.
That's true.
Yeah,
And
lazima tufikirie.
talking of Mnet, let's go to something a bit more and encouraging, and talk about 40 sticks.
Oh,
And talk
Netflix.
about
Actually, that's
40 sticks
Netflix,
on
isn't it?
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yes, because we've now gone into Mnet and film and things like that.
Mm,
You won Best Production Designer
yeah.
last year,
I
Kalasha
cried. I
Awards.
cried my whole eyes out. It's been 10 years of waiting for a Kalasha. Imagine working in the industry for 10 years and never winning a home award, being recognized outside and not being recognized at home. It was such a good win for me. It was an ultimate win for my career.
Why was that important? Because sometimes we tend to feel, oh, it's better for me to win a Grammy than it is for me to get a local award. Like, a local award doesn't mean much if I'm not. And but what why was that getting the local award important for you?
It's finally recognition. 10 years later, I've been doing this. I've been giving you the best TV commercials. I've been giving you the best sets in the country. No recognition at all. Because I don't know if there's propaganda okay in the top. You need to know someone. But there's that one job that they could not have ignored again. There's that one job that came and they were like, hii tuisipo patiana hii. And it for me, I want to win those big awards. But imagine not starting at home. Imagine just not starting at home. It's like Jesus, alifika wakamkataa. Wow. So if you have accepted me at
Yes.
home, then even if I tell you right now I've changed my career and I'm moving to Hollywood, I will feel that I have done enough for my country. Like I will not feel like, oh, I just raised kidogo, then I hipad. See, and then after that, it's been awards after awards. And the funny thing that my friend Sarah Hassan told me just before I won my award, she told me, Stay, I want you to prepare you for something that's not so positive about the award. After you win this award, you'll not get any more jobs. It's been real.
What?
It's been real.
How is that even
So
possible?
it's an
Is that
assumption
supposed to
of
open doors for
no,
you?
It's an assumption of like, oh, now we can't afford her. Now she's not
Oh
available.
my
Now she's
God.
not.
She's a high flyer
Yes.
now.
So that's the reason why I've gotten into Mjengo, because I'm no longer on sets. Nobody's
my
calling me for jobs
God.
anymore. So, but she prepared me for it. It was hard the first year. Then I'm like, wait a minute. Don't beat yourself up. Go into something else. And that's how I've moved into interior design. I'm still doing sets, and when they come, I'm excited because that's where my passion and my love is.
Yeah.
But I have to make a living, Bana.
That's so interesting because I was watching this there's a YouTube series that is, I think it's called Cleaning the Airwaves, and they were interviewing BN. And you remember the controversial video that Sauti Soul did, and they became known in countries beyond Kenya, in places they didn't even
Yes.
expect. But then, I think it was Nishike, if I'm not very wrong. But then the point is, there's no corporate that wanted to work with them
Yes.
because that video was borderline. But then
Yes.
what it did for their rate card
was better.
Like their rate card shot through the roof. So I'm wondering how is it that for you now it's a very different experience, because for them more popularity and them having that controversy and even corporate stepping aside for quite a while, because I think for
Yes.
like 6 months, and
They didn't get
but then
anything.
now much later they were like, oh, you want to come back now, we've actually increased our
Yes.
rate.
And
So-
it's a sad fact. It's a sad truth. Is like, why wouldn't you just call me and ask me as a producer? Just call me and tell me, Siteiya niaje, niko na hii job.
najua umewin award.
Lakini, you don't even start with the award. I was
Yeah.
being appreciated for a good job that I did.
That's true.
I was being appreciated for a good job. So that means if I was appreciated for a good job that I did, then for your job, I'm going to be better. So why don't you just continue nurturing my skill for me to get to the best that can be? So people assume. Assumption is the worst thing that has killed our industry. Film industry is assuming Siteiya is not available. Maybe I've even posted, like the posts that I did, that is a set I built in 2019. But suddenly people are like, hey, uko busy? Excuse me? I just didn't post it then. I posted it now, and I'm still at home waiting for a job.
Yeah. Actually, I visited your blog and I noticed that you had posted those things
Yeah, a long time ago.
in 2019.
Exactly.
Yes,
So I had
saw
done them
that.
way before. So it's just assumption. If you assume that I'm not available, if you assume that I'm expensive and you've not called me, I don't think you deserve my talent. I really don't think you do. So
Yeah.
it's the opposite for me. It's been good. It's been Kalasha Women Film Award, Macha Wood
Yes.
Awards,
Oh.
coming back to back. But then
Mhm.
also the jobs have gone down,
Yeah.
down, dwindling down. But the few that I do them with my whole heart. With my
Yeah.
whole heart.
Yeah, I believe in the Swahili saying chema charge user.
Yeah.
So eventually your people will find you.
Yes.
Yes, and they will know your worth. And
Yeah, and I've stopped teteaing myself in setups. Like
Yeah.
if I meet producers, I've stopped teteaing myself. I always say my work will speak for me. Because as soon as you see I've posted a job, then the producer will be like, hey, I saw that set you did. So as you wanted something like, So I always let my job speak for me. And that's why even I've gone back to posting my work, posting my talent on my Instagram page and increasing flow and reminding people this is what I do. This is how I do it. Even if from 2018, 2019, I've not been getting jobs consistently because of my awards, I can still do this.
Yeah.
But zitakam tu.
Zitakam tu.
Sinanga wasiwasi.
Yeah. Let's talk about the set, because I loved the set, the different sets for Akko set. You see, I've even crammed the crisps company, and they don't even.
It's
they're not
a
even-
candy
Oh, it's a
company.
candy company.
Yes.
I knew it was some type of snack company, and they're not even selling here. So, but the way that you did the set, the colors, they're so vibrant. If you haven't, please check out Siteiya's Instagram page and her blog as well. You will see the sets that I'm talking about. I think there are about three
3
of them.
years.
Take us through the train one. You told me I can ask you this when we're shooting. So yes, here
Yes.
we are.
So we this company comes from Finland. They want to work with Tandiwe, a photographer. And they want some photography done and some video work done. And I get contracted to do the train. So they needed 3 different sets. And the biggest challenge for me was the set. Because in Finland they have this ready, they will get
Mhm.
old sets and old trains that would have shot at easily or we could have built there. So they calculated and realized coming to do things in Nairobi is much more affordable than taking all of us to Finland. So they all came, and I had to build a train, a theater, and float some tray
And
of candy on a pool. But
uh,
so the train, I had 10 days to build, and it was a challenge on
what?
its own.
All
Yes,
that work took 10
10
days.
days, and then only 30 minutes to bring it down.
Oh my God. Now, when you talk about that, like, they're like, no,
Even me, I was like, no, we cannot bring it
can
down.
we
I was
not
like,
keep
who
it?
wants to shoot a music video? I remember even I posted on my Instagram, and like, who wants a music video and has an
Before we
idea
bring
for a
down the
train
set.
before we bring down the set. Just pay for the
Oh
studio for one
my
more day and come shoot your
God.
music video. It had so much bringing down that set. I did not bring
Oh
it
my
down.
God.
So it was a train. So we did it the first time. It was too close to the wall. The lighting department came and said we need to move the whole set out. We dismantled everything, moved the whole set out. We raised the platform for the chairs to look
Mm-hmm.
outside so that you can see the person is actually in the
Yes.
train.
Mm.
So the motion for outside is a blue screen. So you put a blue screen outside, then you just shoot with the blue screen,
Oh.
but then the movement is done in
It
post.
looked so real. Like if you were told this is the guy in Netherlands, you would have believed because
Yes.
even the sound
Oh
itself,
yeah, then
when
the
he's
actor
looking
had
at,
to come from the country, so the actors also
yes,
came.
were brought
They were
in.
so excited because I don't think they'd ever been to Kenya, so it was a good experience for them. But even us, we wanted to go to Finland,
It
but liwe liwalo basi
was
hakuna
easier.
shida.
It was easier to
It was
bring
easy.
them.
It was such an interesting set. I have been so scared to post it because I'm like, I don't think people understand the, what goes into this. But then
Yeah.
I've realized even just posting those 10 pictures, those 15 pictures before you put
Hmm.
the final product is really making people understand, oh, this is all you go to for 15 seconds. Did you see that advert is 15
Yes.
seconds?
Yes.
So 10 days of build for 15 seconds of
And
commercial.
30 minutes of bringing it down.
Yes.
Oh my God. But it's, I mean, when you look at the final product, it is really worth it.
Yeah, it is.
It
It was
is.
beautiful. It
It
was
was,
it was a campaign. They were rebranding their packs, so it ran for a whole, I think, for a whole month in their billboards. I wish I can find those pictures in their like Times Square. The
yeah.
commercials were running. So it's it's good. It's good to do international jobs, get recognition. So I'm crossing my fingers. There's a job that I'm supposed to go to at the end of the month,
Mhm.
and I really hope I can do that job because gosh, it's been amazing doing AU jobs. Just jobs that I can barely post. I'm overwhelmed with post. I'm gonna keep posting, I promise, on Artitair, so that you can see all the work that I've been putting my
I think
hands
it's I
on.
think it's important. And it's I mean and also the fact that you are able to have a platform like Instagram where you're able to showcase your work, and it has that social element where now people can interact with your work, and
Ask
there is
questions like you.
ask questions like me of how did you do the motion of the train, and things like
Mm,
that.
mm,
But it's really good in having that engagement because that's the way now people now start talking about you, and
yes,
you
and
find.
sharing.
Exactly.
Mm.
Now, let's talk about costume and you've done costume and set design.
Yes, so mostly actually costume. What happens as a production designer in every setup? Then you overlook everything. So as a production designer, then you should know what the cast are wearing, because if a cast is wearing yellow, and let's say like today, if I'm wearing yellow and I'm coming to sit on a yellow chair, that will not work.
That's
So you
true.
have to check on wardrobe, then the makeup, because you see, let's say I've woken up, I cannot be having red lippy on. So you have to know you are in charge of wardrobe and costume,
Mhm.
but wardrobe and makeup. But most of the time in Kenya, we don't get the opportunity to be production designers. Only in very few jobs, especially international jobs, do they allow you to overlook everybody. And because most of the time, if you're called at the department for wardrobe, then I'll simply tell you my walls will be green and my whatever. So then you will make sure that your cast is not wearing green or is not, clashing
Yeah.
with the set. But yes, so in terms of costume and makeup in Kenya, it's not been very hands-on to know what is happening, or I cannot run the whole department. But when as a production designer, especially when I was doing 46, then I had to know the
Mm-hmm.
the those jail things that they were
Yeah.
wearing. I had to liaise with the SFX chicks to get the bloody work and everything. Then I had to be in charge of this. So as a production designer, when I won the Kalasha, I was like, I deserved this because I actually overlooked everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And how
Mm.
was it working with Osborne Macharia? He's done some amazing
Oh my
work.
God, it's
It's
been a
very
minute.
futuristic. And you're like, is that a grandmother? Like, for those of you who haven't, please check out Osborne Macharia's work. It's like, you look at what he has done and it's really
Mm,
amazing.
it's
And you
amazing.
worked with him on the set for
Oh
Luanda.
yeah, Lwanda Macharia. Oh my God,
Yes.
that was a beautiful theater set. Sijui hata seminingi sikuwin award. I was at that.
For
I
that.
was in at those awards already, looking nice. Then I was so the best set. Sarafina was like, no, it was me. But anyway, congratulations, Sarafina.
Yeah.
Yeah, Osborne. Actually, I've done. We've done a lot more with Osborne, but mostly for commercial work.
Okay.
But for Luanda, it was because my friend JJ, who runs Chatterbox, was doing. We were doing now the photography for to sell the products,
Mhm.
and he just came like it's amazing seeing Osborne because of how humble he is and how amazing he is. Like he will say this shot will take 5 minutes, and trust me, within 4.30, he's like next.
Wow.
He knows what he's doing. I really miss Osborne. Please, kuja tutembele kidogo Nairobi. But I'm so happy for you and the things that you're doing out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, working with Osborne, working with I don't know if you know Tandiwe Murio. Do
No,
you know
no,
her work? You
I
should check out her
don't.
work.
Mm.
It's just like another. You see, I told you I like supporting women and their craft. So working with Osborne was mind blowing, especially when Abra does the sets, and you just because Kevo Abra used to mostly to do the sets, and because on that he did the sets,
Mm.
he did the costumes, and I did the set for the photography for Lwanda Magere. So he's just out of this world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm.
great. So, let's talk about sources of inspiration and building relationships. First, sources of inspiration. Where do you, looking at the different sets that you've built or the props and everything that the creativity, where do you draw your source of inspiration?
Aki, where would I say I draw it? I draw it from anything and everything. Like I think everything just gives me an idea about something that I would do.
Mm.
So if I watch a show, then I always go, is there a BTS for this? Like how did they come up with this? So I'm very curious. I think my curiosity is my inspiration. That's basically what I would say. Because then I want to know aya sawa basi. Hiyo kitu ina float. Kwa nini ili float? You know, I'll go behind the scenes for. I look
Mm.
for content, I watch, I'm a lot on Instagram. My Instagram page is full of renovations and changing, you know,
Yeah.
renovations, revamps of places. It's anything and everything can
Mm.
inspire me. Your
Yeah.
outfit can inspire me to think about a set that I would do. Meeting with characters maybe during a script read would make me know that character's space would look like this. Like what is it called? Is it called what? It's not a trailer. It's not a trailer we've done. What is it called? The one that you do before you get a movie approved. Anyway, yes, whatever
Yes.
you do. So
Yes.
you put it together. So there's a
Mhm.
series that we've done, and I cannot wait for people to watch it. Like it's just three part of the series that we're doing, and those sets came to life in another way that I have never done before. And I cannot wait for people to see it. And I cannot wait to shoot
Mhm.
the rest of the part. I hope it goes on Netflix again, and then I win another award. And
But
then I don't have
is
more
that
jobs.
is that a movie or it's
It's a
a
series.
oh, it's a series. What's the name of the
I
series?
cannot talk about it,
Oh,
man.
okay.
And
Okay.
yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, so for meeting those characters and knowing, yeah, Njeri will play the character of Sarah. Ah, I can already know what I want to do for her set. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
everything and anything inspires me to like think about the sets beforehand.
Mm.
My favorite part is painting the spaces to bring out. It's somebody who's very cold and their set is green. like yes, I can feel that.
Green
So
is
it's
mean.
yes, it's
Hmm.
anything and everything can
Yeah.
inspire me to
Okay.
build sets.
Okay.
Mm.
Great. I mean, looking at the what you're doing despite all the challenges that you're facing, and I think one thing that I've sort of learned about you is that you have a very strong spirit, and you use the stones that people throw at you to
And
sort
throw
of
them back.
and
Okay,
you
don't throw
step
them
on
back.
them,
Yeah,
you step on them, and
natengeneza.
yes,
Yes.
unatengeneza, and it just
Mm.
and this takes you to the next level. So
Yeah.
I'm curious. Um, where do we see you in another, I don't know, probably in another two
Hollywood,
years?
man.
And
Hollywood.
it,
Hollywood. Huko ndo naenda. Like I need to, like it's very interesting how I had said, my God, by 30, I mean I retire kwa hii industry, it's so tiring. And then I'm like, even if I don't retire, I would like to mentor girls. I would like to mentor women, mostly women, because man, I've mentored so many dudes. I can see them sky high right now, and I'm so proud of them. I can see them working with other art directors, and I cannot even, you cannot begin to understand how it gives me goosebumps. Like even if people feel like we are rivals or we are competing for the same spot, we are not.
Mhm.
I met that guy. He's assisting you now. Who's winning?
Mm,
I am, because
that's
it gives me
true.
so much joy to see. But yeah, I really pray that our industry is doing better in the next 2 years. I pray there's money, there's funding. I want to own a prop house where if you come from
Mm,
wherever you come, then you come and find everything that you're looking for in one space.
yeah.
I want to be in Hollywood. I want to do a movie in Hollywood. I want to actually do shadow programs in London, in in the States, and
Mm,
shadow production designers who I like. So I've been sending out emails and shooting my shot and asking them, what is the next production? Can I come on set and
mhm,
shadow for
yeah.
a week, 2 weeks?
Mm,
So just see how things are done. Learn more, keep learning. Because I don't think I'm gonna move away from this. Even if I move away from this, I'm still doing interior design. But if a production job comes, then I will do it. It will be actually my first choice over interior design.
mm.
But yeah,
Great.
hope Hollywood.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mm,
Awesome. Oh, and I wish you all the best. I mean, yeah,
thank
but
you.
the stars have aligned for you, despite the
Have
bumps that
they?
you're meeting on
Zirudishe
the
hiyo
road.
kile.
They are bumps. They cannot stop you from, the journey that you've taken. And so it's really good to have you here, and it's such an encouragement. And I hope that the women and girls that we have out there, if you happen to come across this, and you'll be able to see that yes, there are women who are doing this, and it's possible to do it.
Mm,
And don't let anyone tell you that no, this cannot be done, wanawake hawawezi kuwa kwa mjengo, wanawake hawawezi fanya hivi, or any other type of career that you set your mind to.
mm.
It's just having that spirit
It's
of like,
possible.
yes, it's possible.
Mm,
And I mean, it's been great. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
thank you.
And for you out there who have been listening and watching this, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, so that you may know when the next episodes are out. I have been your host, Njeri Wangari. Until next time, kwaheri.
Peace.